Welcome to this journey around the world. Let's explore the nations, their capitals, and their currencies all in one place. Afghanistan. The capital is Kabul. The currency is Afghani. Albania. The capital is Tirana. The currency is Albanian lek. Algeria. The capital is Algiers. The currency is Algerian dinar. Andorra. The capital is Andorra la Vella. The currency is euro. Angola. The capital is Luanda. The currency is Angolan kwanza. Antigua and Barbuda. The capital is St. John's. The currency is East Caribbean dollar. Argentina. The capital is Buenos Aires. The currency is Argentine peso. Armenia. The capital is Yerevan. The currency is Armenian dram. Australia. The capital is Canberra. The currency is Australian dollar. Austria. The capital is Vienna. The currency is euro. Azerbaijan. The capital is Baku. The currency is Azerbaijani manat. Bahamas. The capital is Nassau. The currency is Bahamian dollar. Bahrain. The capital is Manama. The currency is Bahraini dinar. Bangladesh. The capital is Dhaka. The currency is Bangladeshi taka. Barbados. The capital is Bridgetown. The currency is Barbadian dollar. Belarus. The capital is Minsk. The currency is Belarusian ruble. Belgium. The capital is Brussels. The currency is euro. Belize. The capital is Belmopan. The currency is Belize dollar. Benin. The capital is Porto Novo. The currency is West African CFA franc. Bhutan. The capital is Thimphu. The currency is Bhutanese ngultram and Indian rupee. Bolivia. The capital is Sucre, constitutional, and La Paz, administrative. The currency is Bolivian boliviano. Bosnia and Herzegovina. The capital is Sarajevo. The currency is Bosnia and Herzegovina convertible mark. Botswana. The capital is Gaborone. The currency is Botswana pula. Brazil. The capital is Brasilia. The currency is Brazilian real. Brunei. The capital is Bandar Seri Begawan. The currency is Brunei dollar. Bulgaria. The capital is Sofia. The currency is Bulgarian lev. Burkina Faso. The capital is Ouagadougou. The currency is West African CFA franc. Burundi. The capital Cabo Verde. The capital is Praia. The currency is Cape Verdean escudo. Cambodia. The capital is Phnom Penh. The currency is Cambodian riel. Cameroon. The capital is Yaoundé. The currency is Central African CFA franc. Canada. The capital is Ottawa. The currency is Canadian dollar. Central African Republic. The capital is Bangui. The currency is Central African CFA franc. Chad. The capital is N'Djamena. The currency is Central African CFA franc. Chile. The capital is Santiago. The currency is Chilean peso. China. The capital is Beijing. The currency is Chinese yuan, renminbi. Colombia. The capital is Bogotá. The currency is Colombian peso. Comoros. The capital is Moroni. The currency is Comorian franc. Congo, Republic of the Congo. The capital is Brazzaville. The currency is Central African CFA franc. Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo. The capital is Kinshasa. The currency is Congolese franc. Costa Rica. The capital is San Jose. The currency is Costa Rican colon. Croatia. The capital is Zagreb. The currency is euro. Cuba. The capital is Havana. The currency is Cuban peso. Cyprus. The capital is Nicosia. The currency is euro. Czech Republic, Czechia. The capital is Prague. The currency is Czech koruna. Denmark. The capital is Copenhagen. The currency is Danish krone. Djibouti. The capital is Djibouti City. The currency is Djiboutian franc. Dominica. The capital is Roseau. The currency is East Caribbean dollar. Dominican Republic. The capital is Santo Domingo. The currency is Dominican peso. Ecuador. The capital is Quito. The currency is United States dollar. Egypt. The capital is Cairo. The currency is Egyptian pound. El Salvador. The capital is San Salvador. The currency is United States dollar and Bitcoin, legal tender. Equatorial Guinea. The capital is Malabo. The currency is Central African CFA franc. Eritrea. The capital is Asmara. The currency is Eritrean nakfa. Estonia. The capital is Tallinn. The currency is euro. Eswatini. The capital cities are Mbaban, administrative, and Lobamba, royal and legislative. The currency is Swazi-Lilangeni. Ethiopia. The capital is Addis Ababa. The currency is Ethiopian. Fiji. The capital is Suva. The currency is Fijian dollar. Finland. The capital is Helsinki. The currency is euro. France. The capital is Paris. The currency is euro. Gabon. The capital is Libreville. The currency is Central African CFA franc. Gambia. The capital is Banjul. The currency is Gambian dalasi. Georgia. The capital is Tbilisi. The currency is Georgian lari. Germany. The capital is Berlin. The currency is euro. Ghana. The capital is Accra. The currency is Ghanaian cedi. Greece. The capital is Athens. The currency is euro. Grenada. The capital is St. George's. The currency is East Caribbean dollar. Guatemala. The capital is Guatemala City. The currency is Guatemalan quetzal. Guinea. The capital is Conakry. The currency is Guinean franc. Guinea-Bissau. The capital is Bissau. The currency is West African CFA franc. Guyana. The capital is Georgetown. The currency is Guyanese dollar. Haiti. The capital is Port-au-Prince. The currency is Haitian gourd. Honduras. The capital is Tegucigalpa. The currency is Honduran lempira. Hungary. The capital is Budapest. The currency is Hungarian forint. Iceland. The capital is Reykjavik. The currency is Icelandic krona. India. The capital is New Delhi. The currency is Indian rupee. Indonesia. The capital is Jakarta. The currency is Indonesian rupiah. Iran. The capital is Tehran. The currency is Iranian rial. Iraq. The capital is Baghdad. The currency is Iraqi dinar. Ireland. The capital is Dublin. The currency is euro. Israel. The capital is Jerusalem. The currency is Israeli new shekel. Italy. The capital is Rome. The currency is euro. Jamaica. The capital is Kingston. The currency is Jamaican dollar. Japan. The capital is Tokyo. The currency is Japanese yen. Jordan. The capital is Amman. The currency is Jordanian dinar. Kazakhstan. The capital is Astana. The currency is Kazakhstani tenge. Kenya. The capital is Nairobi. The currency is Kenyan shilling. Kiribati. The capital is South Tarawa. The currency is Australian dollar. Kuwait. The capital is Kuwait City. The currency is Kuwaiti dinar. Kyrgyzstan. The capital is Bishkek. The currency is Kyrgyzstani som. Laos. The capital is Vientiane. The currency is Laro Kip. Latvia. The capital is Riga. The currency is euro. Lebanon. The capital is Beirut. The currency is Lebanese pound. Lesotho. The capital is Maseru. The currency is Lesotho Loti and South African Rand. Liberia. The capital is Monrovia. The currency is Liberian dollar. Libya. The capital is Tripoli. The currency is Libyan dinar. Liechtenstein. The capital is Vaduz. The currency is Swiss franc. Lithuania. The capital is Vilnius. The currency is euro. Luxembourg. The capital is Luxembourg City. The currency is euro. Madagascar. The capital is Antananarivo. The currency is Malagasy Ariary. Malawi. The capital is Lilongwe. The currency is Malawian kwacha. Malaysia. The capital is Kuala Lumpur. The currency is Malaysian ringgit. Maldives. The capital is Male. The currency is Maldivian rupiah. Mali. The capital is Bamako. The currency is West African CFA franc. Malta. The capital is Valletta. The currency is euro. Marshall Islands. The capital is Majuro. The currency is United States dollar. Mauritania. The capital is Nouakchott. The currency is Mauritanian Uguia. Mauritius. The capital is Port Louis. The currency is Mauritian rupee. Mexico. The capital is Mexico City. The currency is Mexican peso. Micronesia. The capital is Palika. The currency is United States dollar. Moldova. The capital is Chisinau. The currency is Moldovan leu. Monaco. The capital is Monaco. The currency is euro. Mongolia. The capital is Ulaanbaatar. The currency is Mongolian togrog. Montenegro. The capital is Podgorica. The currency is euro. Morocco. The capital is Rabat. The currency is Moroccan dirham. Mozambique. The capital is Maputo. The currency is Mozambican metical. Namibia. The capital is Windhoek. The currency is Namibian dollar and South African rand. Nauru. The capital is Yeren District, de facto. The currency is Australian dollar. Nepal. The capital is Kathmandu. The currency is Nepalese rupee. Netherlands. The capital is Amsterdam. The currency is euro. New Zealand. The capital is Wellington. The currency is New Zealand dollar. Nicaragua. The capital is Managua. The currency is Nicaraguan Cordoba. Niger. The capital is Niamey. The currency is West African CFA franc. Nigeria. The capital is Abuja. The currency is Nigerian naira. North Korea. The capital is Pyongyang. The currency is North Korean won. North Macedonia. The capital is Skopje. The currency is Macedonian dinar. Norway. The capital is Oslo. The currency is Norwegian krone. Oman. The capital is Muscat. The currency is Omani rial. Pakistan. The capital is Islamabad. The currency is Pakistani rupee. Palau. The capital is Ngerulmud. The currency is United States dollar. Panama. The capital is Panama City. The currency is Panamanian balboa and United States dollar. Papua New Guinea. The capital is Port Moresby. The currency is Papua New Guinean kina. Paraguay. The capital is Asunción. The currency is Paraguayan guarani. Peru. The capital is Lima. The currency is Peruvian sol. Philippines. The capital is Manila. The currency is Philippine peso. Poland. The capital is Warsaw. The currency is Polish zloty. Portugal. The capital is Lisbon. The currency is euro. Qatar. The capital is Doha. The currency is Qatari rial. Romania. The capital is Bucharest. The currency is Romanian leu. Russia. The capital is Moscow. The currency is Russian ruble. Rwanda. The capital is Kigali. The currency is Rwandan franc. St. Kitts and Nevis. The capital is Basseterre. The currency is East Caribbean dollar. St. Lucia. The capital is Castries. The currency is East Caribbean dollar. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The capital is Kingstown. The currency is East Caribbean dollar. Samoa. The capital is Apia. The currency is Samoan thala. San Marino. The capital is San Marino. The currency is euro. São Tomé and Príncipe. The capital is São Tomé. The currency is São Tomé and Príncipe Dobra. Saudi Arabia. The capital is Riyadh. The currency is Saudi Riyal. Senegal. The capital is Dakar. The currency is West African CFA franc. Serbia. The capital is Belgrade. The currency is Serbian dinar. Seychelles. The capital is Victoria. The currency is Seychellois rupee. Sierra Leone. The capital is Freetown. The currency is Sierra Leonean Leone. Singapore. The capital is Singapore. The currency is Singapore dollar. Slovakia. The capital is Bratislava. The currency is euro. Slovenia. The capital is Ljubljana. The currency is euro. Solomon Islands. The capital is Honiara. The currency is Solomon Islands dollar. Somalia. The capital is Mogadishu. The currency is Somali shilling. South Africa. The capital cities are Pretoria, administrative, Bloemfontein, judicial, and Cape Town, legislative. The currency is South African rand. South Korea. The capital is Seoul. The currency is South Korean won. South Sudan. The capital is Juba. The currency is South Sudanese pound. Spain. The capital is Madrid. The currency is euro. Sri Lanka. The capital is Sri Jayawardenepura Kot, legislative, and Colombo, commercial. The currency is Sri Lankan rupee. Sudan. The capital is Khartoum. The currency is Sudanese pound. Suriname. The capital is Paramaribo. The currency is Surinamese dollar. Sweden. The capital is Stockholm. The currency is Swedish krona. Switzerland. The capital is Bern. The currency is Swiss franc. Syria. The capital is Damascus. The currency is Syrian pound. Tajikistan. The capital is Dushanbe. The currency is Tajikistani Somoni. Tanzania. The capital is Dodoma. The currency is Tanzanian shilling. Thailand. The capital is Bangkok. The currency is Thai baht. Timor-Leste. The capital is Dili. The currency is United States dollar. Togo. The capital is Lome. The currency is West African CFA franc. Tonga. The capital is Nuku'alofa. The currency is Tongan panga. Trinidad and Tobago. The capital is Port of Spain. The currency is Trinidad and Tobago dollar. Tunisia. The capital is Tunis. The currency is Tunisian dinar. Turkey. The capital is Ankara. The currency is Turkish lira. Turkmenistan. The capital is Ashgabat. The currency is Turkmenistani manat. Uganda. The capital is Kampala. The currency is Ugandan shilling. Ukraine. The capital is Kiev. The currency is Ukrainian hryvnia. United Arab Emirates. The capital is Abu Dhabi. The currency is UAE dirham. United Kingdom. The capital is London. The currency is pound sterling. United States. The capital is Washington, D.C. The currency is United States dollar. Uruguay. The capital is Montevideo. The currency is Uruguayan peso. Uzbekistan. The capital is Tashkent. The currency is Uzbekistani som. Vanuatu. The capital is Port Vila. The currency is Vanuatu Vatu. Vatican City. The capital is Vatican City. The currency is euro. Venezuela. The capital is Caracas. The currency is Venezuelan bolivar. Vietnam. The capital is Hanoi. The currency is Vietnamese dong. Yemen. The capital is Sana'a. The currency is Yemeni rial. Zambia. The capital is Lusaka. The currency is Zambian kwacha. Zimbabwe. The capital is Harare. The currency is Zimbabwean dollar.